remember Tampa, the way she used to be, the places we would run to, the faces we would see. Yes, I remember Tampa, with precious memories, a city rising on the move, a simple yet progressive groove. Yes, I remember Tampa, she remembers me.
Welcome to the Tampa Native Show. Stay tuned now for the fastest 60 minutes in cable broadcast history. Live from the studios at TBCN, the home of the Tampa Native Show. Join your hosts, Mario Nunez, the 15-Minute Girl, and Steve Canella, as they celebrate growing up in Tampa. From Shock Armstrong to Shakey's Pizza, from Braddock Street to Buffalo Avenue. Get ready to call in and tell us your stories, because sharing your memories has never been this much fun. And now, Mario Nunez, the 15-Minute Girl, and Steve Canella.
Hi, Tampa Native Show fans. Welcome back to this, your Thursday night, 7 o'clock edition of the Tampa Native Show. Where else would you be?
Good question.
But right there in front of your TVs, and hopefully some of you are watching us from abroad.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, Stevie? I'm not
Well,
even sure.
elsewhere from their home. Or maybe their mobile phone, maybe.
Hopefully you're watching us on your laptop if you happen to be outside of Hillsborough
Mm-hmm.
County, because you know what? We're on the web, and this thing streams worldwide. Hi, everybody. I'm Mario Nunez. As always, seated alongside my broadcast partner,
Steve Canella.
and tonight we've got a great show in store for you.
We do.
City Councilwoman and Tampa native, Yvonne Yoli Capin, is about to join us in just a couple of minutes, and we got a lot to talk about. We've
sure
got
do.
some great photographs to show you. We're going to be taking your phone calls as we always do, probably about 20, 30 minutes past the hour, somewhere in there. So get ready to call in. In the meantime, the 15-Minute Girl is standing by the phone when we call for those phone calls. And of course, tonight, gosh, we're without our esteemed director.
I know.
Miss Becky
Yatom.
who's a little bit under the weather.
I know.
Kind of
I
feel
know.
bad about that.
That's the first show I think she's missed.
Yeah, Becky, get well. Get
Definitely.
well soon, because it's not the same without you.
It's not.
However, we did pick up a cameraman
We did.
tonight, man.
We
That's
did.
kind of cool. Fella by the name of Tim Bettinghaus. He's right here, and he's our floor director
Thank you,
tonight.
Tim.
So thanks for being here with us, and helping out tonight, Timmy. You know what? When you see something like, when you see a problem, Stevie,
You fix it.
yeah, that's right. You got one of two options, man.
Right.
Either you engage and you get in there and you do what you can, or you go for coffee.
Or you
just
I was
go
gonna
for
say,
coffee.
you
I
run
don't
away
know,
from
but,
it, yeah.
but Tim saw a situation and he jumped in, so thank you for doing that
Jumped right
tonight,
in.
Tim.
You sure did.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about current events, man. Things that are happening right now. What's happening right now,
How about the
Stevie?
race?
All right, the Rays is
talk
good. I
about
would have
that.
started out with the Lightning, but
Well,
we'll save the best
okay.
for last.
That's what we're doing.
We'll save the best for last. The Rays are playing well. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they're currently tied for first place in the American League East with the New York Yankees. Things are just happening, falling into place. Teams are knocking each other off. You know what I mean? And
Well, you remember I told
here
you
they go.
that when they first started playing, I said, I have a feeling they're going to do good this year. And I've been right so far.
So far, so good.
far,
So
so
far, so good,
we'll see.
Stevie.
There's more-
Attaboy.
yeah, there's many more months to go,
So,
though.
even though we don't have Joe Madden here in town
Right,
anymore, he's
right.
with the Chicago Cubs, as everybody knows. The Rays are playing inspired. And I heard today, because I got it on my cell phone, a little notice there saying that Drew Smiley, our left-handed, one of our left-handed starters, is opting out of shoulder surgery. So they're going to shut him down for about 8 weeks. He's going to go through rehab, and
okay.
there's a possibility that he can be joining the staff again, and he won't be lost for the year.
Good news.
Good hard-throwing,
Right.
starting left-handed pitcher. So
That'd be great.
good on you, Rays. Good on you, Rays. Now, how about that? How about those Bolts? How
Yeah.
about that Lightning? How about the Lightning? How about them Lightnings? I don't
about-
even know, how do you say that? We'll have to ask Yoli.
I don't know. I mean, they made it to the playoffs. They're doing amazing.
Made it to the playoffs.
I mean-
playoffs.
I mean, they're
They made it to the Eastern Conference
Well, I know,
Finals.
exactly.
Okay, that's a little bit more important than the playoffs.
and
Go ahead.
It's starting to feel like 2002 again.
Oh, Stevie, you see, stole my thunder. We were talking about that before. Starting to feel like 2002. Like Stevie knew what 2002 even meant. No, but he's right. He's
true.
absolutely right. I mean, look, 2-1, leading the Rangers right now. They got a game tomorrow night here again. They're playing so well. Here's what I like about them. And here's what I liked about the 2002 team. You know, okay, arguably, Tampa's never been a hotbed for hockey. But in the last few years, certainly in the last decade, since winning the Stanley Cup in 2002, we've kind of taken to this, man.
Right.
So when they're playing well, you know they're playing well, and when they're not playing well, you know that as well. This is what sets this team apart, Stevie.
What's
They're
that?
fast.
They are.
They're fast, and not only fast, they're big. They got a couple of cats on this team. One guy that's 6'8", 260 pounds. That's 6'8". Now, for those of you that follow the NBA, that's the same size as one cat named LeBron James.
You know, that's
6'8".
That makes a difference.
But he skates like he's 5'10". Now, what does that mean? That means he's
Well,
quick.
He's quick on his feet.
That means like he's Marty St. Louis,
Oh, yeah.
quick. But 6'8" coming at you. And we got another guy out there about 6'6". And our goalie, Ben Bishop, is 6'7".
So-
This is a very, very talented, and you know what's best about this
What's
team?
that?
Very young.
That's true.
Very young.
That's true.
30 and under. So this team has the potential to be good for a little bit.
They've got the right stuff. They do.
And we're excited. We're excited. So go on. Here we go.
Keep
Go
going.
on. Yeah. Go on, Lightning. Win that Stanley Cup, man. Bring that Stanley
They're
Cup
gonna
home.
do it.
Hey, last
I
night,
feel
what
it.
happened last night? 11:30, from 11:30 to about 12:45.
You know, I was sleeping. I don't know.
Oh, I'll tell you. He was sleeping, but I was watching the last show of The Late Show with David Letterman.
Okay.
33
Okay.
years on the air. You know, we went through this already once with Johnny Carson. We went through it again with Jay Leno as
Leno,
well.
right? Just recently.
And here we go now. And Jon Stewart's about to leave his post. Stephen Colbert left his post, but he's shifting over now. He's going to take over for David Letterman in that same historic theater. Do you know where that show emanates from? Where that show comes from? Where that show broadcasts from?
New York.
Stevie?
No, I
Stevie?
don't. I don't know. I should know that.
Really big
I don't-
shoe. Really big shoe.
Oh, that's Sullivan Theater.
There you
Okay.
go. Attaboy.
Good hint. That was a great hint.
Attaboy.
That
See,
was
I just had
perfect.
to give him
A little nudge.
a little nudge. Yeah, man. So 33 years
Wow.
since 82?
I guess so.
82.
That's
Before that,
amazing.
he was on the morning show, I think Good Morning America or the Today Show. So he's been in our
What a-
lives
what
on
a
TV
career.
every day since 1980.
He's
David
been
Letterman.
in our living rooms.
And of course, recently, 3 weeks ago, we wrapped filming here in Tampa. For those of you that were kind of paying attention, The Infiltrator.
That's right. Would you
I
have
had a
bit
little
of-
experience
little
with The
part
Infiltrator.
in there,
I had a
right?
little experience.
That's right.
A little experience.
We want to hear about
I
that.
was cast as an extra. I was supposed to be in one of the scenes. The weather and some other scheduling issues kind of pushed me off the page. I didn't get a chance to actually be in front of the camera as an extra. But the neat part about it was I did get to meet Brad Fulmer, who was a very young and talented director.
Cool.
Most notably, one of his big feature films with Matthew McConaughey was Lincoln Lawyer. Works with Bryan Cranston quite often. He's good friends with John Leguizamo. All these guys were in this movie here, The Infiltrator, which was a true story about a DEA agent.
In the 70s, I
Yep,
think, right?
in the early 80s. Early
Okay.
80s that infiltrated the Colombian cartel, Pablo Escobar, and they made this huge bust right here in Tampa, actually a little bit north of Tampa, back in the 80s. So they recreated that,
That's-
and I got to be on set one Friday when they were flipping a car over there in the middle of the night. It was really cool to watch them do that. They shut down Nebraska Avenue right there at Alpine Liquors, Nebraska and Bird Street, right by the dog track.
Exactly.
So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that with Yoli as well, because I want to get her take
Yeah.
on how she feels about this activity with, the City of Tampa becoming maybe a major player in Hollywood productions.
Well, I think it's a perfect place because we have so much to offer. We have just the flair that we have in,
Yes.
in our history. But I hope that'll be a trend in the future.
No,
It's more,
listen,
more
there's
films.
money to be made here. When these productions come into town with their budgets of 50, 60, and upwards of
Right.
$70 million, and they stay at the nice hotels and they spend their money around here, they rent equipment from us locally. I mean, it's a big, big deal.
It's
and
good
and
for our
the reason
economy,
that they're
yeah.
going to New Orleans and the reason that they're going to Atlanta currently is because they get offered
Incentives.
incentives,
Right.
tax breaks. So we've got to get our legislature to work on that. We'll talk to Yoli about that. So, Stevie, are you ready to introduce our guest?
Let's do
tonight?
that, for
All
sure.
right. All right,
Very
ladies and
excited.
gentlemen, let me. It's like I feel like the dating game. We're going to bring the contestant out now. Let me go ahead and offer this up just for those of you that may not know. Yvonne Yoli Capin is in her second term now with the City of Tampa City Council. And she's doing a fabulous job, and as she did before and continues to do so. And I bet you, here's a little factoid. You didn't know this, Stevie? We didn't know until she just told us before we went on the air. Yola, we knew that she won her re-election by a wide margin, very popular candidate. How wide a margin? Go ahead, Stevie, ask me.
How wide was it?
I'm thanking you for asking me that, Steve. You know what? She won by the widest margin of any of the other city council
really?
members that sit on the dais with her.
Wow.
Not only that, but she won each and every precinct. And there are 93 precincts in the city of Tampa.
That says a lot about
That's
Yoli.
very noteworthy.
It does.
All right, let's go to our
bring her in.
screenshot now. Bring her in. Here she's been sitting here very patiently, listening to us talk. Yoli, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you, Yoli.
Thank you for welcoming.
Oh man, that's good. That was a good introduction.
That was
pretty good stuff.
That's a great
very
intro.
good stuff.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You found the studio here, no problem. You got here with plenty of time. Thanks, Cindy, for us for getting you out here early.
definitely.
Yep.
Because it's always a challenge.
Right.
Traffic is a
Thank her for the
challenge.
photos too. Yeah.
And
she
we
did a
and we
good
talked
job.
about that before the show because we're all old-timey Tampa people. Isn't the traffic crazy these days?
It is. It really is.
What do we attribute that to?
It's we don't have enough public transportation,
Public-
enough options for
Right.
public
There you go.
transportation.
There you go. Because we have the bus, but we don't have any light rail. We don't have any rail to speak of. We have the trolley, but it only goes like this far. So if you're going 6 blocks, you can take that trolley. I'm being facetious. But yeah, that's probably. And the other thing, Steve.
Migration into
Yeah.
Florida. The
They
population
found
growth.
us.
Yeah,
Yoli.
they found us. They discovered us.
They found
Right.
us. Remember Sandy Friedman? Remember the early 1980s? Tampa, the next great American city. Remember that whole campaign? Why?
Yes, I do. Well, right after I was elected in 2011, I sat down with Mayor Buckhorn when he was newly elected.
Right.
And I said, Mayor Buckhorn, I believe Tampa is a sleeper and it's about to wake up. And here we are.
Boy, has it ever
Boy.
woken
Yeah,
up.
we've been discovered. You're right.
Yeah, we used to be kind of a flyover on the way to Miami, and Tampa was a sleepy little town. You'd ask half a dozen people and they wouldn't even know where Tampa was. And now so we're morphing into this phenomenon known as
Tampa Bay.
Ugh.
I know.
Don't say that again.
We don't want
Steve.
to.
I got a little lightheaded
We don't
when
want to go
you
there
said
though.
that, yeah. But anyway,
But all the sports teams put us on the map too.
yes,
Tampa Bay
no
Buccaneers,
doubt about it.
Right.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, our first entry into the NFL, so we made it onto the national stage, so to speak. But now, we say it every week on the show. We've become the city of
Festivals.
festivals. Yoli, when we were
Pretty
growing
much.
up here,
We have.
what did we have? We had the Florida State Fair once a year. And
That was about it.
And the Florida State Fair next
And
year.
Gasparilla.
And Gasparilla, of course, when we had Monday off. But now we've got a festival every weekend, and people it's all over the city. So let's talk about Yoli. Yoli, you grew up here in Tampa, but you've got a very unique story that we want to kick off the show with. It's wonderful. Tell everybody what we talked about yesterday.
Well, I called to tell you that I had not been born in Tampa. Many people assume I was, but my mom and dad were born in Tampa. My grandmother was born in 1908 on Main Street. My great-grandmother was born in Key West. My mom and dad were married 2 years, and my great-grandmother had moved to Baltimore. And there was a recession here in Tampa, and she said, come on up, there's work here. Sure enough, my dad found work there, but they were expecting me. I'm the oldest child when they moved up there. So my story is I was made in Tampa, delivered in Baltimore.
Isn't that great?
That's great.
Made in Tampa, delivered in Baltimore.
That's
Put
right.
that on your
I'm
business
not gonna
card,
let
you
go.
know.
I like that. That could be a business
great.
card. That should be on your business card.
know,
City
really.
of Tampa put that on there. That's wonderful. But when you got back here, you were
I was
little.
2 years old.
Yep, 2 years
when we
old.
returned.
So everything
Never
you
left.
ever, yeah.
You're still a
and-
Tampa native, so.
Absolutely,
yeah.
and never
Yeah,
left.
absolutely.
With that long lineage as well. Great grandmother born in Monroe County in Key West, and followed the migration that so many of our ancestors did, coming from Key West to Ybor City,
Right.
and then just staying in Ybor City. And some went west of the river.
My family did.
Some went west of the river because, let's face it, and thinking about it geographically, that was a dividing line. The river, if you were west of the river, man, you're in West Tampa now.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't mean you weren't involved in the cigar industry because you were, but great rivalries, friendly rivalries, were set up naturally by that one natural boundary, the river. So where'd you go to elementary school?
I started in first grade at VM Ybor Elementary.
Uh-huh.
And when I was 10 years old, the expressway came through and we moved to West Tampa. So I've lived on both sides of the river, so I tell people I'm bi-coastal.
Nice. You see?
I like that too.
That's very
I want to write that one
good.
down too. We have a picture of that, by the way.
We should show that picture.
That's-
Ray
we have to do
Villadonga,
that.
our dear friend Ray Villadonga, also espouses the fact that he is the product of a mixed marriage. His father's from Ybor City and his mother's from West
Exactly.
Tampa.
Definitely
I hope I got
mixed.
that right, Ray. It's either
think
that
so.
way or the other way. Can we call for that
Yeah,
picture?
let's do that. Erica, we can. Let's
The
bring
very
bring up
first picture
number one.
is Yoli's first grade class.
Yeah,
Is that
can't
right?
believe it.
And Yoli, you were mentioning about your class and the uniqueness of the teacher and the story behind the teacher in this class. And bonus points for anybody at home that can pick out Yoli in this picture.
And how small the class
First
is.
one to call in and tell us which one is Yoli wins a bonbon, a chocolate, or whatever Yoli wants to buy for you. That's fine.
Point, right?
But Yoli's in that picture, and if you know which one she is, we'll open up the phone lines real quick for you to identify her. 813-977-6800. Tell us the story about the teacher.
Well, we called her Miss Fisher, but her name was Freysha. She was my first grade teacher. She was also my father's first grade teacher. So my father was her student at the beginning of her career, and I was her student toward the end of her career.
Now that's pretty neat,
That's
and I bet that
interesting.
doesn't happen
No, that's
very
rare.
often
Same
at
neighborhood.
all. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
very
a
rare.
pretty good span of years. And did she know that, or how did that work out?
She did.
She did,
She
right?
did. Yes, she did, and was delighted. She was just the best first grade teacher you could ever have.
There's about
And
15 students in the class too, it looks like, right? Very small.
It was 11 boys and 7 girls.
Wow.
So 18.
And wonderful to have a good experience with a first grade teacher, because it kind of sets everything else off in a good, in a good path. And
Right,
it
it
makes
does.
learning fun. It makes school engaging. It makes you want to go back next year, the year after, and the year after that.
Right, right.
Because not all of us had a great experience with a first grade teacher. Do you remember your first grade teacher, Steve?
You know, I do, but it was good. It was all good.
Well, that's 2 out of 3
Yeah.
that had good experiences. I'll just leave it at that. And I had such a good experience with my first grade teacher, Yoli. I had her for second grade, so I had her for 2 years.
I think we kind of
This woman was as mean as a snake. I'm just telling you.
She moved around.
Oh no, she was as she followed us.
Yes,
she
she
followed us to second grade. I was never so happy to be going to third grade, Steve.
That's funny.
Never so happy. All right. So do you want to show these pictures, Steve? I think we should.
Yeah, let's do that for sure.
So we'll get to the junior
yeah.
high and the high school in just a minute. But to set it up properly, I think we should go through these photos. And if you want to go through these photos, Erica, just kind of roll through them.
Yeah.
And we can talk about them. Nobody called in to identify Yoli, but there's somebody calling in now.
Okay.
Tell us about this picture, Yoli.
That is a 1959. It's my grandfather, and that's me, the tallest one.
Uh-huh.
My sister Shirley, who is the next one, and then my tiny sister Catherine. And that was the day that Castro came into Cuba.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow.
I mean,
that's-
came into Havana.
The day.
Yeah, the day.
That's
that was
December
the-
31st, 1959, right?
Yeah,
Was that
yeah.
what it
And
was?
that tells you Florida, December 31st, 1959.
Yeah, you guys were in
Have
camiseta,
shorts.
shorts,
my
camisetas.
Yeah, I remember
Now
that.
you mentioned that was your tiny sister. Did she grow up or did she remain tiny? I'm just curious because
My baby sister,
Yeah, okay,
yes.
'cause it sounded like she
The
was
tiny-
tiny. She was a tiny thing.
No,
we
she-
carried her around
she
in a
made it.
basket. She was a tiny sister.
Great.
She made it.
Yeah, we have to have fun on the Tampa Native.
Yeah,
Show.
you do.
All right, should we check on this to see who this person is calling in? All right, let's
okay.
see. Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Native Show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Philip Testa,
Hello.
calling from Sumter, Florida.
Hello, Mr. Testa. How are you,
Testa.
PJ?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're having a
Good.
blast
Good to hear
tonight.
from you.
Yoli's a great guest, and we're having fun.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see her. I mean, she looks so much like her mother.
There you go. There you go. And that's how it works.
It does.
You know, it's funny how genetics works like that.
It's so good to see her, and what a great job she's doing.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
And I've known Yoli since she was a baby. I mean, her mom and dad were clients of mine since the 70s.
How about
Wow.
that? That's pretty good.
And I tell you, I've always been a friend of that family, and it's just been a great family.
Thank you for calling,
That's
PJ.
great.
And you're kind of a great guy too, and we appreciate you.
A very great
And
guy.
the love you share with us on this show and being a great sponsor. So thank you.
It's fun. It's fun to be back because I've been gone for about 4 or 5 months.
Oh, of course,
Yes,
we know that.
yes. And when you go into that hole, partner.
I go in deep.
Yeah, we don't see you for a minute. Welcome back, PJ. Give us your Bolita number.
I'm going to go with number 14.
14 it is. Thank you. That's Pete Rose. Put that down there. 14.
let's do
You
it.
got it over there.
We have it here.
Thank you, PJ, for calling. As
Thanks,
always,
PJ.
hey, you care to guess at which one of those young students in first grade might have been Yoli? Did
Yeah, I'm going to say the very first one on the left.
Can we? Are you saying on the left, on the far left?
Well, on my left, I don't know what.
Yeah, no, we're looking at the same picture you are. So the far left, PJ. I'm sorry, wrong answer. Try again some other time.
All right.
Thank you for calling, Pete. We appreciate you.
Thanks, PJ.
See you guys.
Bye-bye. Oh, okay, so
that's great.
You got the wrong guess. He doesn't get the bonbon. I'm sorry, he doesn't get the.
I get to keep my money in my pocket.
No, we got more callers going to be calling. So,
funny.
okay, that's wonderful. Thank you for calling. It's PJ Testa.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
he's-
know him. I remember him
great
when he
guy,
said that.
great
Yeah.
Great
He is.
sponsor for the show, and just an all-around wonderful
Wonderful,
person.
yes.
So we're very fortunate to have him in our family.
We really are.
Next picture. Let's do the next picture. So yeah, that's the beauty of living in Florida. It could be Noche Buena.
Yes.
It could be
Right.
New Year's Day.
I've been in spaghetti straps
Oh,
on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, or short pants,
Yes.
Bermuda shorts. I like this picture.
That is my grandmother, Mercedes, and my grandfather, Esteban, and that is my mother that they are carrying.
Oh wow!
Oh, look at that.
wow!
And,
So
and
your
that
mom was born, you said, in 20. Your mom. What year was your mom? Your Abuela was born in
my
08.
mom was born in 1932.
Oh, 32. So that would have been around there, 32, 33,
Right,
34
right,
maybe.
Right.
Okay.
And that is my great grandmother, Fabiana. And Fabiana was born in Key
That's the one that was
West.
born in
West.
Key West.
And
Of
she was
Cuban
born
descent?
in 1890. I can't recall right now. In 1890.
Probably in the early 90s,
Yeah, in the
1892,
early, yeah,
48,
somewhere
93,
around there.
because my abuela was
She's
born
buried
at that
right
time,
there
too.
in
Colón?
Colón.
Wow.
Yeah, see, we have so much in common.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
That's my mom and dad.
Beautiful
Their
picture.
wedding
That's a great
picture.
photo.
Isn't it lovely?
See the lights on both sides coming
And
through.
the big wet in the train, what a beautiful,
Oh, it's,
what a beautiful
it's
dress.
beautiful.
And that's my mom and dad are in the center. Well, the lady on the right is my aunt Mirta. That's my father's brother, and that's her husband, Fred. And my mom, Amelia, and my dad, Octavio, and then my great uncle, Manolo. He's the one he lived in Baltimore. And I
Oh,
believe
okay.
they're at one of the historic clubs here in Ybor.
I was thinking,
I'm not sure if
Cuban
it was
club,
the
maybe.
Cuban club,
I was
right?
thinking it was the Cuban club also. I think that's what they told me when I was.
I thought that when I saw the photo.
Very cool picture, very
Isn't it cool?
sexy, very, the Frank Sinatra. in
People
there
dressed
somewhere.
up really.
Yeah, no, of course.
They really
Of course,
dressed
a lot
up
of pride.
then. Yeah.
They
A lot of
did.
pride. And they kept themselves well, and you know, half of it was getting dressed up to go out on Fridays and Saturdays. Hey, who's that?
tell us about this.
Miss Latin Fiesta something or another?
Yeah, that's-
What's going on there?
That's exactly what that is. I was 17 years old there, a senior in high school,
What high school?
and I attended the original Jefferson, but it was disaccredited the year I was to graduate. So I graduated. I was the first graduating class of Lato High School.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Does it still bother you? Does it still hurt your heart? Because the way you said that, your voice kind of went down.
cracked a little bit.
You put your head down
you
a
know,
little bit.
it
you
was
said-
like a tradition. My
course.
uncles graduated from Jefferson. Everybody was
That would
a
have been
dragon.
69,
and,
right? 69?
That would no, the class of '67.
67 is when
And
it
then
became?
that was the last class to graduate from the original Jefferson was '67.
Okay.
That's where
So you walked in 68 or 69?
I
you
graduated in
graduated?
'67.
Oh, you did graduate in
Yeah,
67?
that's why my senior year I went to Lato. It was the first graduating class. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
So
see
close,
now.
too.
I see now.
I attend the Jefferson reunions.
Oh, good for you.
Of
where we
course.
go, yeah.
So you were
It's
at the
very
DW
nice.
Waters was your high school until you had to go to AP Lato.
Right, right, right.
That's, yeah, that would be
I
tough.
graduated from Jefferson too, the new one.
The new one, yes.
Which is
yes.
now, ironically, been around longer than the
old-
original.
really, is that right?
Oh, sure, sure. The original, that Jefferson, that building there that you graduated from was around for about 22 years or something that like, maybe 25 years. This Jefferson broke ground in his first class was 73, 74, so yeah.
I'm glad they did build it. I'm
Well, the
glad that
Dragons-
they insisted on
What were the big three?
Had to
The
keep it
big
going.
three schools in Tampa.
Hillsborough Jefferson plant.
End of
That was
story.
it. That
End
was
of
it.
discussion.
That was it.
So how are you going to have Hillsborough and Plant and no Jefferson?
That's right.
So I think it was just a bonehead move to
couldn't do that.
discredit it because they brought it right back.
Right.
Within 3 years, they
Right.
brought it back.
Right.
Okay. We have any more pictures?
We
Because those
do.
pictures are very cool.
I love this photo here. What's this?
This is the in France, in Paris. This is the Champs-Élysées.
Yes, it is.
And these are the young women that were part of the Latin Fiesta, and I'm the one on the one that's a little bit separated at the
On
at
the far
end.
right? On the
Yes.
far right?
Yes.
What a great photo.
You just separated yourself out because you could.
I don't know. Maybe they were walking too fast. I couldn't keep up. I
It
don't
almost
remember.
almost looks like you have one leg. You're standing on one leg also. It's a very odd photo in that regard because, you know what I mean? It looks like she's got one leg behind her or something.
It looks like a Vogue magazine.
So
cover.
wait a minute, you got to travel to Paris? How did that come
it was
about?
fabulous. Actually, the Latin Fiesta
What
was
are
a
you,
pretty
17
big
years
deal
old?
back then.
Yes,
I
it was.
in that photo. I'm 18. It was the summer of that I turned 18, so I was 17 going on 18.
Well, how
when
fabulous was that?
Yeah, it was.
Late 60s, Paris?
We were in the front page of the in Switzerland of the newspaper with and along in the same. Our photo was right next to Lady Bird Johnson.
Oh, wow.
They met us at the airport, TV cameras with roses. It was the most amazing experience for, a young girl from
Tampa,
Ybor
Florida.
City.
Yeah, from Ybor City.
That's
yeah,
a big thing.
It was.
And do you remember the girls that were in that photo with you?
Most of them, yes, I remember
You
most
keep,
of their names. Yeah.
would you say to keep in touch, or you bumped into them every once in a while?
Yes.
Or
Some
did
of
they
them are
stay
still
home?
here in Tampa.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna
some
say.
of them are
that's
mostly
great.
are in
That's
Tampa.
wonderful.
And you're right, though, the Latin American Fiesta was huge back then. It was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
parades
Yeah,
and
it was a
everything,
big
yeah.
deal.
Was that the court? And was the
that
queen
was
in
the
there?
court. Yeah, there was the one in
one
the
that was in
center,
there?
and then there were usually it was one queen or and then four assistants. I don't know what
Yeah.
they're called. But that year was such a big year that they decided to bring six. There's seven of us.
All the
there.
debutantes were in their picture.
There's seven of us, yes. And everyone, and then the two
Queen's got her-
girls, there were two young women that didn't quite cut it. So we went to Europe and we traveled to 6 countries. And the two young women that did not make the cut, they took them to South America.
Well, what a nice consolation prize.
I know.
Come
they,
on.
They traveled in South America.
Well,
Isn't
what a
that really
nice
cool?
consolation. Well, that's good that they
that's
did
great.
that, because I was expecting you to have say they had to stay home and shine our shoes. They had to stay home and
No,
wait for.
it was a big deal.
Oh no, I remember. I remember how every year that
And it
was.
was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And you were in the parades every year too, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Riding the float.
Yeah.
Tampa was special back then, wasn't it?
It was very special.
We talk about it's okay. You can say that on the show, 'cause
Yeah.
that's what we do here on this particular. Talk about this picture.
That is with Ambassador McNamara in Vienna, Austria. Same trip. That's who that is, and it's in the American Embassy.
Embassy, right? What an experience for an
know.
18-year-old. What a
It
mind
was
blowing.
right out of high school, just
Yeah.
to get on that and head over there. And
Do you remember how you got there? Did you go to New York first?
Yes,
I'm guessing you went
and
to
it was
JFK?
Pan Am. Oh my God,
The
it
Clipper
was
service.
Just, yes.
747.
And then we stopped in
London?
the island to refuel.
Azores?
Yeah,
The Azores is off the coast of Portugal there.
Yes.
In the middle of the Atlantic.
and we stopped there
To refuel?
and then refueled. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it
That's
was
cool.
it was a long time.
Very, very cool.
A lot of traveling at that age. That's great.
Hey, who are these handsome people here?
Yeah, that's my husband, my late husband,
Sure.
Juan Capin, and myself, and that was our 10-year high school reunion, or his 10-year high school. He graduated in '66.
From?
Jefferson, the original Jefferson, yes.
Was this your house here?
That was my parents' house.
Okay.
That was my parents' house, yeah. And we were going off to, and that's our baby girl, when she was born. That's my husband, my late husband, Juan, and myself, and our daughter, Jessa,
And how old is Jessa now?
36.
Yeah, she's an adult now.
Yes, she is, and I have a wonderful grandson, Miles.
We'll get to see him in a second.
Yes, that is, again, Juan,
Mr. Capin?
and that was our first little jewelry store in the mall, in a mall.
In a mall. Which mall
Which
was
one
it?
was it again?
Tampa Bay Center.
Tampa Bay
And
Center.
it was
my favorite mall.
yeah, and that's Miles, and that's him with my husband's mother, which would be his great grandmother. And
Those
she's
pictures are so
still here.
special.
Yes, and there's Miles with my daughter, the adult.
The adult now.
Yes, and that's Miles. Oh my!
And there's a
When did that
campaign
one-
photo, huh?
Did I send that in?
No.
Probably. Stevie
No.
snatched
No, I
that
just-
from
Oh,
somewhere.
you did.
Yeah.
I didn't remember.
A
Yes,
little searching.
That was a group, volunteer group, in the middle of the campaign to get out the vote.
Get out the vote.
Mm-hmm.
And boy,
And they
were
got
they
it out.
successful, huh?
It worked.
Woo, did it ever? I like this photo
This
here.
one here.
What's going on here? Dedication at the park, perhaps?
Yeah,
Some
we're
kind of
dedicating
tree organization?
the oak trees, the large canopies along that avenue, and it was really special. It's so beautiful.
Okay. Okay. Mara and I were talking about this yesterday as to where
I already
this
know
was.
where this is.
I was thinking it was maybe the old.
He thought it
the
was
old King Bean.
Amaryllis on Tampa Bay. And I said, that's La Teresita. And what is it?
It's Kawas on Henderson Boulevard.
See, we knew
both
that.
were
We
wrong.
knew that. We knew that. Yeah, see, we could have been further wrong. Because we just said, no, that's West Tampa somewhere, right?
Gotta be.
No, she went to Soho to take the picture.
That's great.
Where is that place?
Kawas on Henderson Boulevard,
On Henderson.
just west of Dale Mabry.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
I know exactly where it is. Down there by...
Yep.
What was on the corner? Here we go, Tampa native guy.
I don't know about that.
Although it wasn't your stomping grounds. Dale Mabry and Henderson. It was there for the entire late 50s and 60s and early 70s. And they
Kentucky Fried
it
Chicken?
just became a bank. Just became a bank recently. But it was Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yep. Yep. With the
Remember that
big, the
sign?
gigantic sign. We have a picture of that.
Yep,
Too.
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
the bucket.
The big,
Wasn't it
and there
the
was
big
a bucket on
bucket
top
or
that went
square?
around.
It was a big.
Well, this
It
something.
was like a big monument.
It was a
almost.
tower. I think
Yeah.
it was an observation deck. There was like there was a portal in there because the previous building that that was like something they I don't know.
You could
get
see
in
it
there,
from
you
miles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could stand and look.
It
But
was
we knew
interesting.
it as Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, of course.
Damn
yeah.
it, Henderson.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Yoli.
Yes.
So let's let's talk a little bit about. I'm curious to know more about the jewelry store. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Okay, how long was it there? What kind of jewelry did you sell? Azabaches? I mean, talk to us
Were you
about la
upstairs or
calidad del
downstairs?
cobre. You know what I mean?
Tampa Bay.
We were upstairs. We started, how it started was I decided that I was going to open a gift shop on Bush Boulevard, and I was going to capture all the tourists from Busch Gardens. Except Busch Gardens, I did not do my research very well. They had their own gift stores.
Their own gift shop.
So what happened was I had a lot of students from USF, so I had a lot of handcrafts, sand-casted candles, all kinds of that stuff like that. And I had a 4-foot showcase, and I bought some handmade gold rings that were, and they sold right away. And then I bought some more, and then and I said one day to my husband, I said, you know, I have a 2,000 square foot store and a 4-foot cabinet, and 60% of my sales are coming from this cabinet. I think I'm going into the jewelry business.
Oh, wow.
There it is.
And so then we
Smart.
went and we went and took the GIA course for diamond grading. We did casting. We didn't do it, but we wanted to learn how it's done so we know what we were sending out. And that's how that started. And not only that, it came in tiny little boxes
Nice.
as opposed to
Perfect.
gigantic.
Yeah.
Reputation, right? How long did that go on? How long did that last?
25 years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
What was your first job out of high school? Was it straight into the jewelry business, or where'd you work?
First job out of high school. Tampa General Hospital.
Uh-oh.
I was a floating clerk, ward clerk.
Really? That
Yeah,
was-
for a year.
In the water?
Ward clerk.
Oh, no, because I
He heard floating.
I heard floating. I said, what?
Yeah, no, I was a floating clerk, which meant I moved from floor to floor.
Yes,
They would-
Steve,
I
see,
wasn't
it wasn't
stationed.
because she was on Davis Island and there was water all around. It had nothing to do with
thought
that.
you were on a boat.
Oh my
maybe.
goodness.
Oh my gosh! I'll ring the bell myself on that one.
Yes.
I was thinking of that.
But Steve's always interested because he always has a great story to tell about his first job, the day that you got your job at Cash and Carry.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
when
yeah.
he was on summer break from school and his father came in,
Like-
woke him up, gave him his tie, and said, "Hey, you're going to be at work in half an hour, so get up." And I don't remember applying for a job, Dad. No, I did for you. You're bagging groceries in 30 minutes.
He
Let's
went to
go.
the manager himself and got the job for me.
So he
Came
always
home and told
asks
me.
all of our
I
guests.
love it.
That's a standard
great.
question that each one of our guests has to answer.
Exactly.
What was your first job?
It
Well, no,
impacted me
because
so much.
that Tampa Bay Center, really and truthfully, Yoli, let's be honest, we love that place.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
It was the center of our world, wasn't
yes,
it?
It was.
Yes,
It
it
really
really
was.
was.
Neat
And
mall.
my nephews, my sister's son, which is turning 42, they say the same. They're like, oh my gosh, it was where we hung out.
Well,
it was wonderful.
And everybody knew
Had a
everybody.
theater.
Oh, theater had
Yes.
everything. Tampa Bay
That's
Mall.
where I saw Star Wars.
Oh, I
Of course,
saw.
77.
Yeah.
What did I see? I forgot. Oh, I saw Rocky there.
Stars Born.
Yeah, A Star is Born as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Tampa Bay Center was our social network before our current
Facebook,
social-
before Twitter and Facebook.
That's right. That's right.
Because that was a meeting ground.
You went to the second deck. You stood on the second deck and you just did, hey! And that was your social network because you knew everybody. There's Hillsborough over there, there's Jefferson over there, there's Tampa Catholic in that corner. Come on, it was great. It was great. Okay, let's go to the phones. Listen, we're talking, but we want to talk to you as well. So if you've got a question for Yoli, or just a comment, or you just want to just hear your voice on TV, who am I thinking about?
Robert Gonzalez?
He's going to be calling you in a second. Okay, Robert, there's your cue. Give us a call now, 813-977-6800. We've got goodies. We've got a City of Tampa coffee mug, complete with accoutrement. You got some pens here. You've got a pencil and paper, and you've got a notepad, courtesy of one Yoli Capin. And she will autograph this pad for you, which I'm telling you right now, if you don't understand what this means to win your election by the widest margin of any of your competitors, not your competitors, but any of your colleagues, and to win all 93 precincts, that's pretty serious. That's pretty serious stuff.
That's
I mean, that's like, she didn't win 92 out of 93 precincts.
It was a landslide.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a landslide.
Beyond that.
I mean, that's
What it was called.
That's the classic definition of a landslide, winning all of the precincts. So, Yoli, can we talk a little bit about, because this is something that if you get off the show, we don't get to talk about what's happening with Cuba and Tampa and the kind of the reconnecting of all of that wonderful history. Mm-hmm. We definitely want to kind of see what's going forward, because we know, we're reading in the paper, and Paul Guzzo is all over this. There may very well be an accord that's to be signed between the two governments of Cuba and the United States. And we know that Yoli Capin is at the forefront of making sure that if that does happen, it happens here in the city of Tampa. And she's got a little resolution here in front of her. We'd like to hear your take on that, Yoli. What was your inspiration? How did that come about?
Well, actually, it came about, my husband, Juan, coordinated then Senator Barack Obama's first visit to Tampa, which was April 15, 2007. And on that day, I have photos of my husband handing him a handwritten note and the photo of him reading it. And on that note, first, and then he handed him a T-shirt of Ybor, and he says, where you're heading at your next, we were in a private home, he says, where you're heading next has a very long history with the island nation of Cuba, which was Ybor, because he was going to the Cuban Club. And he said to him in that note, he said, when you become president, should we ever have a meeting of the minds, it needs to happen in Tampa. So I know that. I remember that, that was his, and actually my husband had him come down the fire escape at the Cuban Club, and that photo made Time magazine.
Oh, really?
And it was a huge success for him. But that's how, and my husband was from Spain. There was no Cuban in his family whatsoever. But he empathized with the people here. And he said to the then senator, he said, we as American citizens want to travel freely to Cuba. And he was very receptive. So when he moved on this now as president, I wanted to take advantage and remind him of the connection that we have here. I'm sure that he is very aware of it. So the first thing that I motioned for, or initiated the motion, was that we welcome a Cuban consulate in the city of Tampa. When that happens. And then the following week or so, when the president made more overtures and more connection, I thought, well, it's time for us to initiate the motion that should there be a meeting of the minds or anything that is
An official accord.
That it be signed in Tampa, and then it would be known as the Tampa Accord.
Oh,
isn't that great?
Very interesting.
Isn't that wonderful?
I didn't know that. That's great.
And
to know.
I send 2 packets we'll see if they got them, to the Secretary of State and to the President and to the Vice President with our motion and all the other background material on our city and our history.
Well, there is a connection here between Havana and Tampa. It's a long-standing tradition.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to capitalize on. No, if they're going to be, if there's going to be a consulate here anywhere in the United States, or especially in the state of Florida, it has to be in Tampa. There's no other. And people don't understand this, but when you do talk to people who are just coming to know the history, they're fascinated by the fact.
And they're surprised.
They're fascinated because all they know is Miami Cuban.
Right.
Miami Cuban. And those Miami Cubans, for better or for worse, Stevie, I'm talking to you.
Oh.
I mean, not because you're a Miami Cuban.
I didn't think
But for better or for worse, I mean, you got to think about it. They're still fighting those battles from 1960 and 61. And we try to explain to people, Yoli, that, our great-grandparents and our grandparents came here well before all of that. So we don't have that angst in our heart. We don't have that constant gnashing of the teeth feeling.
It's the timing.
And the amazing thing is, the younger generation, which is to say, Yoli, your children, my children, they don't have it either. So what happens is it just finally gets to a tipping point when those old diehards die off, enough of them die off, that fervor starts to wane, and then the young people with more practical mindset come in and goes, hey man, what's all the fuss about? Well, we're there now. And December 17th, which is the day that the initial announcement was made, was a huge momentous shift. But I think it was all going on behind the scenes beforehand.
Yes,
we just
probably,
didn't know
I'm sure.
what was going on. And then on December 17th, and I tell you, Yoli, and if you can bring us up in the 2 or the 3 shot would be better, because Yoli's in on this conversation when we went to Cuba together with Al Foxon in July.
Right.
And that was a great trip.
It really was.
It should have been greater still, because we were supposed to have been escorted by one Governor Charlie Crist at the time. And I thought about this, why it was that he didn't go on that trip. And for the longest time, I'd like to get your take on this. For the longest time, I thought he was getting some bad intel. And they were telling him, look, man, it's not going to play well in South Florida, and if you go, it's going to cost you some votes, it's going to cost you the election. That's what I thought initially. But then I started to put 2 and 2 together, and I realized, you know what? When Nelson Mandela died and President Obama shook Raul Castro's hand at the funeral, at the service, the memorial service, which caused a tremendous uproar, international uproar, I think that was the beginning of this new time. And if this was all going on already behind the scenes, probably somebody called from Washington to Governor Crist's office and said, listen, Charlie, we appreciate what you're trying to do, but if something happens as a result of your move to go to Cuba, we can't have it look like you were the one that did this, because there's something happening back here that's already taking place. So this is going to come from the top down, Charlie. Thank you so much. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, to me it does. From watching from the outside, it makes perfect sense that Charlie couldn't upstage, Governor Crist couldn't upstage President Obama in this instance, even though that probably wouldn't have happened. But
it's a possibility.
My question to President Obama is, and I know you're watching, President Obama, so I'll ask you directly, why didn't you make this announcement before the election of Governor Charlie Crist? Because it might have just changed everything here in the state of Florida, and you wouldn't have had such a tough time with what's happening in Tallahassee today. Okay, we're getting off track a little bit, Yoli, but you know what I mean? You're a political leader here in our city, and you're doing wonderful work. So are you excited about this? This speaks to
very excited.
Your relationship with your husband, the love that he had for his city, for you.
Yes.
And he started this in 2007.
In 2007,
He planted
yes.
the seed for this in 2007.
And then when they came back later, that was April 15, 2007, they came back later in the summer, and he sat down with the Latin American advisor for the campaign and pretty much said the same thing.
Wow.
I remember he was very adamant about making that point, that Tampa. You know, when you talk about, my grandfather came here when he was 13 years old. He was born in 1905. So that was, 1918. He was here way, way before anything, happened with Castro. And I
so before Castro
empathize
was
with the
born.
people. Nobody wants to leave their country.
No.
No, you know, we had the Irish immigrants come in, and it was during their famine, and it was very hard for them. And you know, they said they could go back. Many of them didn't. They just they were so poor. But the same thing, you know, with Cuba. It is no one, if they don't have to, will not leave their country.
Right.
Most of the people don't.
And how did we find the people there? How did you find them in your
You know,
walking the streets in Cuba like I found them? How did you find
They
them?
were very, very friendly and and a lot of people, when you said the uproar about the president shaking Raul Castro's hand, what I said was the consulate here is instant international recognition because the world pays attention to the relationship of this very large country and that island nation. And the one thing I found about the people there, they're highly educated and sophisticated. That's the part a lot of people don't realize, because the only people that haven't been there is us. They had, when I was there in July, they do not have enough rooms for the tourists they have there. They have people from all over the world. And because they are exposed to that, it gives them that level of sophistication, even though they themselves don't travel as much. But the only people that were kept from we're the ones that were in isolation.
Right.
And my husband
90 miles
realized
away.
that. Yeah,
90 miles
exactly.
And they're very
That-
resourceful too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, extremely, extremely resourceful. But they are very friendly and very American. It's like that culture never ended. That relationship with the people and in the U.S. and especially Floridians and especially, it never ended.
You could feel it when you were there.
You could feel it.
It was almost as if, Yoli, correct me if I'm wrong, but the sentiment, the overriding sentiment was, we've missed you.
Yes.
Like you see an old friend
Yes. Yes.
after a long,
Yeah, that
long
was a
50
great way.
years, we've missed you. Ain't nobody pointing no fingers, ain't nobody upset with nobody about what happened, we don't care. We're glad you're back in our lives. That's the sentiment that I got. And
You know,
and
I got
I
the same,
think
the
now
same
that
thing. Yeah.
you feel
when I
it
went
too?
to Sicily in
There you
2005,
go.
the same feeling, and at Santo Stefano, it felt like they knew we were there, and they made us feel like we were at home again.
Now imagine that sentiment, okay, that you felt, never having been disrupted, okay? In other words, you didn't go back,
Right.
but you could have gone back. We couldn't go there.
Right.
We could not go. We were forbidden from going there. So when you finally went there, that reception is so heartwarming. And I just have to believe that once this thing starts to really go, it's going to go fast. And it's already going fast. Every day there's another move, something else is happening. And we have a lot
Right
to
now,
share.
they are negotiating for embassy, as I think it started today.
Absolutely.
And you know, we've had so many starts and stops with Cuba. Prior to 2004, it was much more open to travel to Cuba, artists, and I have a friend that traveled for 3 weeks throughout Cuba, photographing and filming. One of them was a film professor at USF, and unfortunately invited my husband to come on the next trip. The next trip never happened because it turned into 2004, and those doors closed.
Oh.
Remember?
Yeah,
That
of course.
was,
Of course.
So we've had a lot of starts and stops, and I was a little bit worried about this one, but I think they did so much background before.
To make
what
sure
you
that when
see
they came
now
out, maybe not.
is the tip of the iceberg.
Right,
It
right.
goes very deep. I
That was
believe.
my intent when I was trying
Yeah.
to explain the analogy with the
I
Charlie
agree.
Chris situation.
I agree.
I just think that there was too much at stake here,
Well-
and Charlie had to just take this one and just have to take one for the team, so to speak. But I also think too, Steve, you know, since we're talking about Cuba now, you know, there's a saying that I always heard from my grandfather growing up, and I'm sure there's an equivalent in Italian, but you probably heard it as well, Yoli. Hablando se entiende la gente, which literally translates to speaking to each other, communicating, people understand each other. It's when you don't talk to each other that things get a little bit squirrely. And, you know, everybody else understands what's happening in the dynamics of the, if you want to call it feet on the ground, boots on the ground, the people over there in Cuba. But we're the ones that come away speaking rather rudely at times about they don't have this and the politics are that. And then you ask the guy, hey man, you ever been? No, I never been, but I know it's this and that. I was like, how do you know? How do you know? Go walk in their shoes, go stay at their house, go break bread with these people, and figure it out.
See a different side of the story.
Not just a different side, you see the story, not a different side.
Well, right,
you
right.
see the story.
The real story.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we're able to go now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we have been allowed to travel to China, a communist country. As a matter of fact, my
Vietnam.
husband and I traveled there on a 5.5-week self-tour in 2005, and all we had was a hotel reservation in Beijing, and we flew from Madrid to Beijing, and we went directly to the Communist Bureau Travel Agency, which is what you would expect, a ginormous building with no windows. But in there, they spoke every language you could find
Really?
in this world.
Wow.
It was amazing.
That's
but
interesting.
what I mean is that here it's a communist country, and we're traveling there freely, and went about however we wanted. And
I never
find
understood that why Cuba was different. You know, because
Well, Cuba was different because of the politics in Miami.
and that's got to be
And that was it. That was it exclusively. And
But it
then
made
there's
no
still
sense.
Florida has its own international policy when it comes to
Right.
Cuba, not the federal government, but the
Right.
state. Yeah.
And they find different ways, man. Believe me, they find different ways to still reach back and do some counterproductive things. Congressman from Miami, Mario Diaz-Balart, introduced a legislation in Washington recently, and he snuck. You know how they sneak things in the bill in the back end. You know, he snuck something in another comprehensive bill that if it passes, all passes in one fell swoop, it's going to wreak havoc on rulings that were just now deemed open for business with this ferry, the ferries that are going to be like it's very complicated. It's like, okay, the ferry can dock, but once it docks, it has to dock from 180 miles from Mariel Harbor, and it can't be any closer than that. And then once it leaves, it can't come back for 8 weeks. And you see what I'm saying? So in other words, they're just muddying up the gears, just trying to do anything they can. So it begs the question, why? What have these people got against? That's a whole nother show. Yoli, will you come back and do that show?
That's a whole
Will you
nother
come back
subject.
and do that show?
That's a
Listen, as we come to the close of our show, we just want to say two things. I want to say two things, Stevie, and I hope you have things to add as well. How proud we are of the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Because you're in there in the trenches and you're doing it day in and day out. And I know how near and dear this project is to your heart, obviously, for obvious reasons. And Juan's here. He's following you. He's guiding you through this whole process.
Yes.
And when it does happen, it's going to be glorious and it's going to be fun. And we're all going to be there with you when it happens. Keep up the good work. Keep fighting, because you're going to run up against people that would rather you not do this. But you got to continue to do this. And the Tampa Native Show, we got your back on this one. We got your back on this one. This one's strong and healthy. And come back and see us again when you've got more to talk about, especially as it relates to this.
Yeah, and you have a question too. I was going to ask you, what was would you say was the spark that propelled you into your current position now? Like, was it a certain cause or an issue that you were after at the beginning that you didn't like, or you did like, or
politics in general?
To go into politics in general?
I mean,
I've always been involved in campaigns. I have photos. In 2004 presidential governor's campaigns going back to the 70s. My husband and I were always involved in that. And he always encouraged me, and I always, I've got a business, I don't want to. And then we retired, and that's when we traveled to China, and we did all this stuff that we, and when we returned, there was if you remember, I was appointed in 2010 to fill a seat. And I was one of, I don't know, maybe 30 people that filed to fill that seat, and I was appointed, and I thought, well, I'm just going to serve out these 8 months because I don't think that this is really for me. And then I found, and Mayor Pam Iorio, within 2 weeks, said to me, "You have a public servant's heart. You have to stay in this business."
Oh, that's great.
And I did. And
Backed by popular demand.
That's awesome.
93 precincts popular. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
That is good,
That's
because a
good
lot of people they want to change things. They want to make a change in certain things in the community, but they don't take the effort that you took to actually go forward with it and become elected to where you can affect change. So So
It's a lot of work.
Good for you.
I mean, it's it's not a walk in the park.
No, no.
This isn't like you're just going to the City Rec Hall and swinging on the
I tell
swings.
people it's a part-time job with a full-time commitment.
Right.
There
right.
you go. Well,
It really
well
is.
said.
It is.
Well,
And
well said.
it's a pleasure.
That's a bell.
It is a bell. I'm a little slow on the draw
I know.
there.
What happened there?
Well played, sir.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're almost to the end of the show, but I do want to say, Yoli, if there's anything that you want to say to your constituents, anything you want to say to anybody special out there, look right into that camera that belongs to you right over there, and whatever. If you want to invite them to your office, tell them your office is always open. I'm making things up now, Yoli. I don't know that to be true, but
Serve coffee and cookies. And
yeah, café con leche, and you'll meet
I,
them at La Segunda Central
actually,
Bakery.
I invite constituents to my office all the time because my office is 7 foot by 11, and I love for them to come in and see how large we live at City Hall.
Oh, boy.
And it's full of history, and it's the original City Hall, and I love going in there every single day. And what I love about being on City Council is that it is a window to our city like none other. And what you do there affects people immediately. And I love that when you go out, people stop you and they talk to you, and you get so much feedback from the public because we are on TV every Thursday, so they're very familiar with you, and that's a good feeling. That is a very good feeling.
And we watch.
we're on TV every Thursday.
That's
right.
Hey, there's a bell ring for you. We got a lot in common that
Yes.
Thursday.
We
thing.
sure do.
Only we go on at 7 o'clock at night, and they go on at 9 o'clock in the
Okay,
morning.
a little different.
And those chamber events are spectacular because it runs the gamut. It runs the gamut.
does.
You got everybody from this guy to that girl, and it's a lot of fun. So that's if
sounds
you want to know more about it, just tune in. It's channel. I want to say it's channel 16. It's CTTV. Look up your local listing. CTTV carries that feed live 9 o'clock on Thursdays. You get to watch City Council in action.
I'd like to sit in one of the meetings one day.
You can. It's open to the public. Absolutely. And you can even speak. Just put your name on the little thing.
Some of them are more exciting than others.
Right.
Some of them are just sleepers. It just depends. But it's all important work.
That sounds
it really is.
interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
I love that. That's good. And we want to remind our fans that immediately following this show at 8 o'clock on Bright House 638 and Verizon 36, you'll get to watch the replay of last week's show, which was a really exciting show. A fun show.
It was.
We learned more about Tony More, the third-generation owner of La Segunda Central Bakery, than we thought we ever knew.
More than I ever knew.
Yeah, and it was a good show, so you get to watch that
Very,
tonight.
very
I don't think there's any, Lightning's not playing tonight, the Rays might be, but just watch this show. It's a lot more fun.
And for the belated drawing, we have one winner.
Yeah, no, PJ Testa.
PJ Testa.
PJ, I'll be over bringing this stuff to you on not Monday, because Monday's a holiday, Memorial Day. I'll bring it to you on Tuesday. And speaking of Memorial Day holiday, gosh, we're almost halfway through
I
the
know.
year already.
Can't believe it.
What is going on?
Yes.
Time is speeding up, it seems like.
We're right now in the coming into our budget, which we have to pass by the end of September.
September, right?
So we
Here
just
it comes.
we're really cranking up now.
Here it
with our
comes.
budget.
wow.
Well,
Yep.
we got about a few seconds to go, so raise your glasses. On behalf of everybody that puts this show together, the 3-shot would be nice right about now.
There we go.
Salud and happy days. We love you, Tampa.
See you next week.
Thank you, Yoli.
Salute.
Salud.
Salud.
Salute.
Back when we were younger and everything seemed new, we used to have a lot of fun, yes we did, no matter what we do. Sleepy days, long summer nights, going anywhere we please, with love that I could call my own, love that I've always known, a city that I call my home, a home from which I never roam. This love affair was meant to be. I love her and she loves me. I remember Tampa, oh, she remembers me. She remembers me. I remember, yeah, yes I do. Oh, I remember, yeah, me and you. I'm a Tampa native, Tampa native, can't you see? I will share my story 7 p.m. on TBCN, home of the Tampa Native Show.
If you want to bring us up in the 3-shot, and we'll just do a quick promo. Did we determine whether it was Richard DiPietro that was our guest next week?
I thought we
ever
did.
determine that for sure?
But I don't
for
think.
sure?
But I don't know if we confirmed that with him or not, though.